A gun in the sun, a tale of justice and reckoning. The midday sun scorched the cracked asphalt of the ShopRite parking lot in suburban Columbus, Ohio. Heat shimmered off the pavement, blending with the hum of distant traffic. James Monroe, a black FBI agent in his early 50s, stood by his silver Ford Explorer, calmly loading grocery bags into the trunk. His dark polo shirt and khakis blended with the crowd of shoppers. Nothing about him screamed federal agent, just another man running errands on a Saturday. Then, a police cruiser screeched to a halt 10 feet away. The door flew open, and Officer Paul Hendricks, a wiry man in a crisp uniform, strode toward James with a hand on his holster. His eyes narrowed, radiating suspicion. "Hands up," Hendricks barked, glancing at the open trunk. "We got a report of suspicious activity in this lot." James paused, his brow furrowing. "What report? What did you see?" His voice was steady, measured. Hendricks didn't answer. He stepped closer, sneering. "I've locked up plenty like you. All polite until they're not." The words dripped with contempt, loud enough for a nearby woman with a stroller to freeze and stare. James raised his left hand slowly, reaching for his FBI badge in his jacket. "I'm not who you think," he said evenly. "You're making a mistake. Drop it." "Now," Hendricks shouted, drawing his pistol in a flash. The muzzle aimed at James's chest. Shoppers gasped. Phones emerged from pockets, recording. Time slowed. James let the badge fall, hands raised, eyes locked on Hendricks. "I want your superior," he said, voice calm but firm. "You're crossing a line." Hendricks's lips curled. "You think I won't shoot? I'm the cop. Right or wrong, I'm always right." His hand trembled, the gun unwavering. The crowd held its breath, the air thick with the threat of violence. What Hendricks didn't know was that James Monroe wasn't just a shopper. He was a federal agent, and this moment would unravel a system that had protected men like Hendricks for far too long. Would justice prevail, or would silence win again? The answer lay in the tense minutes ahead. James stood motionless, hands high, the summer heat pressing against his skin. Hendricks's gun shook slightly, his bravado faltering as a quiet police SUV pulled into the lot. Chief Robert Ellis stepped out, his uniform crisp, his face etched with tension. The crowd parted as he approached. James's eyes met Ellis' no words needed. The chief's gaze shifted to Hendricks, who stammered. "He looked suspicious, Chief. I thought he was dealing." Ellis's voice was ice. "You aimed a gun at a federal agent. Lower it." "Now." Hendricks hesitated, then complied, his face paling. Ellis turned to the crowd. "I'm Chief Robert Ellis. As of this moment, Officer Paul Hendricks is suspended. His badge and weapon are confiscated." Whispers rippled through the onlookers. A child tugged at his mother's sleeve, asking, "Is that man fired?" She hushed him, gripping his shoulder. Hendricks handed over his badge, his knuckles white. "I followed protocol," he muttered. Ellis didn't blink. "Protocol doesn't justify prejudice." Hendricks walked to his cruiser, the crowd's eyes burning into him. Ellis approached James, who lowered his arms. "I'm sorry," Ellis said quietly. "But maybe this had to happen to expose what's broken." James nodded, his face unreadable but heavy with fatigue. This wasn't just about one cop. Something deeper was at play, a system that had let Hendricks act with impunity. As the crowd dispersed, a ShopRite security camera swiveled, capturing every detail. Somewhere, someone was watching, and the fight was just beginning. That afternoon, James returned to ShopRite, bypassing the main entrance for the security office. As an FBI agent, he had authority to request surveillance footage. A nervous technician, barely 20, led him to a room with 3 monitors. "You want the exact moment, right?" the kid asked, typing frantically. James nodded, watching the footage. It showed Hendricks stepping out of his cruiser, then inexplicably jumped to him, aiming the gun. The approach was missing. The audio was garbled, static, drowning out key moments. James's gut tightened. "Rewind it," he said. The same skip occurred. He requested uncompressed clips from 3 angles, handing over an encrypted USB. Back at his hotel, he analyzed the files on his FBI-grade laptop. Within minutes, he spotted tampering spliced timestamps, altered metadata. Someone had edited the footage before he arrived, someone with high-level access. This wasn't a lone cop's mistake. It was a cover-up. He sent a secure message to Ethan Price, a retired DOJ tech expert. "Data needs verification. Top priority." Ethan had once helped James decrypt a file in a corruption probe. His reply was swift. Some things are stored, not trusted. James dug deeper, accessing ShopRite's system logs. An anonymous ID had extracted video from the incident's exact time, leaving a cryptic note. One step late is dangerous. The precision chilled him. Hendricks wasn't acting alone. The next morning, Chief Ellis called James with 5 words. We have a problem. Sarah Thompson, a ShopRite security guard who'd recorded the incident, had vanished. She'd agreed to testify, but missed her internal affairs appointment. Her phone was dead, her GPS offline. James drove to her apartment, a modest unit in a quiet complex. The door was locked, her mailbox stuffed with flyers. Neighbors called her shy, reliable, not the type to disappear. Building footage showed Sarah leaving at dawn, carrying a small bag. 40 minutes later, a black pickup parked nearby. 2 men in maintenance uniforms entered the lobby, but never left. The next hour's footage was corrupted. James's jaw tightened. He'd seen this before. A witness in a past case vanished, later ruled a suicide. The pattern was repeating, but sharper, more ruthless. That evening, an envelope appeared on Ellis's desk, no sender. Inside was a photo. Sarah, flanked by 2 men, being forced down a hallway, her eyes wide with fear. A note read, "Truth has a price." Ellis and James stared at the image, the weight of a hidden network sinking in. This wasn't about one rogue cop. It was a battle against a system that stayed one step ahead. James's investigation uncovered buried reports on Hendricks' racial slurs, a detainee beaten in a holding cell, all dismissed due to camera malfunctions. The files had been hidden by an administrator tied to Ellis's predecessor. James encrypted the evidence, labeling it red flag. Meanwhile, Ellis found a pattern. Officers who spoke out, like Officer Michael Reed, who criticized Hendricks, were reassigned to remote posts. Reed's report called Hendricks's actions lawless prejudice. Days later, he was shipped to a rural station. Ellis dug into transfer records, finding 3 officers punished for questioning stable colleagues. A note in one file read, "Removed to stabilize morale." The system wasn't broken, it was designed to silence dissent. A cryptic email arrived in Ellis's inbox. Morton was the end result of choices made years ago. Attached was a symbolist circle with 2 slashes linked to a defunct oversight unit. The past was speaking, and Ellis felt its weight. James, too, faced threats. A gray sedan parked near his house, moving daily but never leaving. His mailbox was pried open, revealing a note. Silence is safety. A night camera caught a hooded figure by his gate, unmoving for 2 minutes. James reset his security, encrypted his files, and analyzed the notes intraceable. A video arrived, showing Sarah bound in a dim room, a distorted voice warning, "Stop now, or she dies." James's resolve hardened. He wouldn't repeat past mistakes when a witness died after he ignored a threat. Enter Laura Bennett, a journalist in her late 40s with a reputation for exposing police cover-ups. She approached James with a list of suppressed cases, victims of color, vanished witnesses, malfunctioning cameras. They cross-referenced her data with FBI archives, revealing a pattern of misconduct tied to Hendricks's unit. One name stood out, Richard Coleman, Internal Affairs Chief, seen in Sarah's video, leaning against a patrol car during the incident. Laura traced the video's metadata to a warehouse district. James and Ellis, in an unmarked SUV, followed the lead. Fresh tire marks and a warm coffee can confirm recent activity. A listening device picked up a muffled sob. Sarah. Laura jammed nearby signals, creating a digital blackout. Ellis posed as a delivery driver, distracting the guards, while James slipped inside, finding Sarah in a makeshift cell. He cut her free, her eyes wild but alive. Chaos erupted as Ellis fought off a guard. A gunshot rang out, grazing no one. They escaped with Sarah, Laura wiping their digital trail. A spray-painted symbol, an inverted triangle with O, confirmed that Patriot Watch, an extremist group within the force, was involved. Sarah, shaken, revealed her captor used a police radio with a riot control code, pointing to high-level access. At a safe house, Sarah refused to testify, fear consuming her. James visited alone, sharing his own terror when Hendricks's gun aimed at him. "You didn't look away," he said. "I need that again." Sarah's eyes softened. She admitted her captor's radio used code C-49, reserved for elite units. "I'll testify," she said. "But if I vanish, you keep the truth alive." James handed her a witness protection agreement, signed by Ellis and Laura. "We'll do this together." Days later, Sarah's safe house went offline for 3 minutes. She was found under her bed, trembling, claiming a man whispered her name. Laura moved her to an off-grid cabin, where Sarah revealed a video on her old phone. It showed Hendrix's gun and Coleman watching silently. Laura identified Coleman as the man who reinstated Hendrix despite complaints. The video was backed up, sent to Ellis, and filed federally. James found a journal in the police archives by David Whitaker, a retired HR deputy. It detailed Hendrix's reinstatement despite violations orchestrated by Coleman. Whitaker's notes mapped a network Patriot Watch shielding officers like Hendrix. Transfers silenced whistleblowers. Complaints vanished. A final entry read, "Warned by Coleman to stop. Don't let this system forget." At the disciplinary hearing, Hendrix's lawyer, Walter Grayson, argued he acted on threat perception. He smeared James, citing a closed FBI case to question his integrity. James countered with footage, stats on wrongful gun draws, and Whitaker's journal. He spoke of Sarah's rescue, her fear a mirror of systemic failure. "If Hendrix felt nothing aiming at me, how many others suffered in silence?" Sarah's letter, read aloud, sealed Hendrix's fate. "I saw his eyes. He knew no one would stop him." The council voted unanimously. Hendrix was fired, no appeal. Ellis ordered a review of all transfers and promotions, suspending 3 Patriot Watch-linked officials. Resignations followed, including a captain who admitted ignoring harmless biases. The media hailed Ellis's reforms. Young officers rallied behind him. Months later, James sat in a Columbus diner with Laura, reading an editorial. "We knew but stayed silent." He smiled faintly. The system hadn't crumbled, but it was bending toward justice. Sarah, in witness protection, began healing. Ellis's reforms, transparent complaints, unbiased recruitment took root. James submitted a final report. "Prejudice didn't kill me, but it nearly killed my dignity. We need memory, not blood." At City Hall, Ellis addressed a packed room. "Racism hides as suspicion. No one deserves a gun in their face for their skin." James, watching, nodded. A young officer whispered, "We stayed. Let's do it right." The silence that followed wasn't fear, it was resolve. Your turn. What do you think about this story of confronting violence and injustice? Should James have pushed harder, or was the system's reform enough? Share your stance in the comments. Let's debate how we tackle bias and abuse in our communities. Your voice matters.